these are some not well-known LEGO sets.
But a explanation on what these sets are. But these X-Pods were little carrying cases that had a bunch of pieces that you can carry on the go with. It was taking the idea of soccer set where you can do the same, where you can take it on the go, and the Slizers containers where you can take it on the go and put it on a belt, just like these, where they have belt loops on them, and bring it on the go. Although it's like a rattle on your belt, but you know, you can see here the first wave that I'm going to be able to review these two sets here. This Aero pod, the yellow one is what I'm calling it, and the red one, the Wild pod. These have a lot of Mixel coating onto it. It's like kind of like the predecessor to Mixel's kind of. But there's the 4 there, and you can see the packaging that I'll show later with the other ones. This was like kind of a one-off one. And there's this board game that they show promoting on the back of these ones, that there's this game called Playoffs, and I guess they give the 4 or the 5 from this set and have it in a board game to do tasks with it, kind of like almost like the predecessor to the Lego board games from 2010s. And then the second wave that I have more of, except for this one, and the third wave had this newer style packaging, which were now under Crater, and 3-in-1 too. And then they had these Nuremberg Toy Fair promotional ones, which I thought would be more expensive, but it isn't. But it's kind of interesting. They actually revisited this idea of a carrying case for bringing around Lego pieces, but for a smaller set, you know? And they came out with these kind of containers with Crater, and they actually did it more prevalently on Lego Racers with their pods. And you actually can stack up the Crater ones just like Bionicle containers, but not the Racers ones. But for the Crater ones, they didn't have a lot of sets using these smaller containers like this jet here, or this pickup truck, or this racing car, or this fire truck, or even this train. But a brief moment, they used to have these sets in boxes, but nowadays they would have them in polybags, like this Christmas train, this helicopter, and many smaller models that are essentially like that. Because the X-Pods are branded under X-Pods, but if they weren't, they would be categorized with the designer sets, because that was the Crater theme. Well, I mean, Crater predecessor at the time. And you can see eventually, because the Outpods outlived the sub-theme designer sets, they rebranded on their last wave to Crater. I reviewed a couple of these sets, but these designer theme is a pretty cool theme. They were the predecessor to Crater, as I mentioned, but this idea of a set with multiple builds in them been around since the early days of Lego. I mean, you know, but they abandoned the idea around, you know, when they weren't doing so good, because they were really in the idea of that the brick was not popular anymore. And so they must have been really desperate, because they came out with this theme, this designer theme, in 2003, where it was one of their worst years, you know? So they got desperate, I guess, and brought back this imaginative playing sets and stuff. But these sets were pretty cool, because it was just a year prior before they purged a lot of these old pieces and old colors. So it was like Crater, but with all these older pieces from the past, you know? So pretty cool theme. And some of these pieces are exclusive to some of these sets, because it was that unique, you know? I imagine these sold well because, you know, it eventually became to Crater. So, I mean, that's why it was kind of advertised more at the time of these sets. You got to see some of these advertised a lot. They were pretty cool too, to be honest. But I almost forgot to mention that the main difference between Crater and designer sets is that Crater usually provides you instructions to build 3 models or fewer, while designer sets offer instructions for more than 3 models and way more in some sets, or way fewer in some sets.
So, let's get on with these builds here. So this one is X-Pod Creatures one, and it has the coloration of, you know, red and orange and stuff like that. Creatures related, I'm sure. And then the yellow one is had to do with, I guess, flying vehicles like planes. They show one there that you can combine the other set to make a whole different thing. And some of these remind me of Mixels with these eyes that they have. These they just build monsters out of them sometimes. Has the information on the back there. But I thought these were security packaging, like where it's sealed and you just have to use scissors to get a hold of them. But these are, they're just taped in and you actually can open it up, which is way better than I thought it was going to be. So that's the yellow one there. This is the red one. You can see the pieces in there using that bag that they barely ever use, but back then they used that a lot for baggage. And they're showing the green one that you can combine with this one. They show like different creatures. I think so. If I was a kid, I probably would have got sold by the creatures using the pod itself. But there's that there. So some of these, the tape just comes off of it because it's that old. The stickiness is gone. Opening it up, you get access to the pod, and how it works is you twist it this way, and you're able to get the pieces. And you can actually twist the bottom one off. So these are what make up the pod. And there's studs on the bottom of this piece, and there's where you can put the belt loop. This is like a dish for it, a cap too. And this is the other one. And you can twist it on to do it something like this, where it's like a dish. And it reminds me of like a wheel to a cool bike, you know? And I'm sure a lot of clever people were able to use a lot of these pieces for really interesting stuff. Picking the packaging is just this shell, you know? Then, oh, okay, so the instructions is back here. Oh wow, a little tiny booklet. And then it's just this cardboard insert. Just being thorough. You never know. They have like this kind of classic designer set packaging with the yellow trim on it and stuff, where it has the instructions on the back. Similar packaging that you see of these nowadays is going to be in the little accessory bags, and they have just a tiny bit on the edge of it to let you know that it's a different bag. But I remember when I was younger that these were used for other accessories or smaller pieces, but I remember how much of a pain it was, these bags. I'm glad they got rid of them, but it's kind of nostalgic. But whenever you open these bags, it like, if you think opening a Lego bag is explosive sometimes if you do it improperly, these ones, you don't even have to do it improperly to have it explode all over the place. Because when you hit a hole on one of those bags, it kind of makes it where you have to pull it harder and explodes. So, but it is, weirdly enough, a bit satisfying, because, you know, it's like, it has this satisfying noise to it. And this is the first build. It has some extra pieces with it, but it's like this dragonfly, essentially. Has those dish pieces as eyes. It's really, it's funny how some of the thinking of like, it's kind of like mixed with the eyes and that, I don't know. So this is the second build, and it kind of reminds me of a weird angry bird, but it's like this little dinosaur. This is the third build, and it uses the pod. This one is pretty neat. When it's not as, like what I mean.
So this is the first build for the yellow set.
You can angle this propeller, and you can like stack these. They also have axle hole in it. You can be carrying around like that. It's funny how they have it as X-Pod. It's almost like the extreme craze that they had in the early 2000s, you know? This is the second build for the yellow one. It's like a submarine. I guess those are portholes. I don't know. Here's the third build using the X-Pod. Some like goofy feet, and then it's like the back of a helicopter, but then it's like its face. Interesting, I guess. I don't know. And here's the combination model with these two sets. It's a weird hybrid of the two, but I always like how they use those discs. But these can move like this way, sideways with that hinge there, and angling it like that, like a bug, but it's also like, could be a wheel. I don't know. And yeah, it's like in there, got the build. And I think with all these, you can fit all these little builds in here, still somewhat complete, you know? The problem is that they don't have any models that show them using this. With the instructions too, there's some of these in here too. So there's also that you can know how to build other models. Oh, and this model that they don't show. And this model here. And this. And this. And this other stuff. And this other stuff. And that other stuff there. That's very neat. And that one there. And that